Welcome, everyone, to this week's chat where we will turn our perfectionism habits into progress. So, I strongly encourage you to have a pen and paper handy for this chat. There are a lot of golden nuggets coming your way. The other thing I want to mention as we move forward, your awareness will change, and you may find yourself in the feelings of guilt or shame. You may notice your mind turning to should haves, but make yourself a promise. Promise to not beat yourself up for the things that you are not aware of. And remember that we are always doing the best that we can with our current level of awareness. Okay, this is so crucial because we are tackling these topics as a way to grow our awareness. So we're not doing this to beat ourselves up. All right. So let's get started. At its root, perfectionism isn't really about a deep love of being meticulous. It's about fear, the fear of making a mistake, the fear of disappointing others, the fear of failure, the fear of success. We often associate the term perfectionism to a love of having things done right, but it's simply fear sneaking up on us. I want you to take a moment and rate your fears here. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5. So 1 being not really, to 5 being absolutely present. Be honest with yourself. It's the only way that we can face it and move past it. So where would you rate your fear of making a mistake? Is it not really? Or is it totally present? Yeah, I admit I have that fear. Where would you rate your fear of disappointing others? What about your fear of failure? And what about your fear of success? So jot down those numbers. Is there a pattern? Do you see that you're at 1s, or do you see that you're getting really close to that 5? I used to see my perfectionist habits as a positive. I used it in interviews and when describing myself. I was proud of this fact until I identified its true meaning and its impact on my life. So reflect back to your own experiences so far. Have you ever used perfectionism as a descriptive word when describing yourself and your work? When we hear the term perfectionism, we think about someone who desires all to be perfect, and that's part of it. Perfectionism is striving for flawlessness and setting exceedingly high standards for performance. The key word here is exceedingly high. It's accompanied by tendencies for overly critical evaluations. It also includes a tendency towards negative emotional responses that follow the failure to meet our standards, such as self-criticism. So what's interesting about perfectionism is that it isn't actually wanting everything to be done properly or even the right way. It's in fact a hindering thing because it sets up unrealistic expectations about what we're capable of. This habit affects every single aspect of our lives. It affects how we act in relationships, how we show up in a variety of situations, and how we spend our time. It dictates our priorities and it affects our personal standards, our boundaries. So we're only a few minutes in, and I can already feel in my body the heavy weight that this carries, even just talking about it. So it's talking about flawlessness. Have you ever seen somebody in real life being completely flawless, having no flaws whatsoever, no mistakes taken? Right? haven't, right? And those exceedingly high standards. So it's not just raising the bar, it's raising it up here when you know there's no possible way of doing it. And now I'm going to dive into it a little bit later, but there's a difference between raising the bar to um, to raise your awareness, to push yourself, and there's a difference between perfectionism and that. Okay, and then that overly critical evaluation. It's like if I haven't achieved the 100 things on my to-do list today, I am a failure. It's either I fail or I win, one or the other, right? And again, we'll dive into that a little bit later. So doesn't that feel heavy? So why would we put ourselves in that situation? But so many of us, until we are aware, perfectionism is like a badge of honor. I know it was for me. So if perfectionism means doing things right, setting standards, and evaluating ourselves, why is this a form of self-sabotage? Right? These are all elements that are crucial pieces to our growth and our success. We want to do things right, because I don't know about you, but deliberately doing things half-assed just feels crappy, right? So obviously I'm going to want to do things right. Setting standards for ourselves pushes us to aim higher, and we work to achieve them. We have to evaluate what we're doing on a regular basis to ensure we're on the right path. These points are all true and important, right? However, perfectionism goes beyond that. It's doing things right, then doing them right again, and again, and again, and again. It's staying in the loop and not doing anything with it, right? So just with this little piece, I want to do things right. If I take my business, I want to do things right. I want to show up in the right way. But if I'm constantly just retweaking, even these webinars, for example, if I just stay in the loop of retweaking and making sure that everything is right, and I am never sharing it with you guys, then this is where that perfectionism comes in. It's hindering. It's not helping me grow. It's not helping you grow. It's just staying on my computer, right? It's setting exceedingly high expectations that in reality, no human can achieve. Then we move on to self-analysis and evaluations of our work, which 99.9% of the time would give us undesirable results because our tasks are not humanly possible. Therefore, we give ourselves undesirable grades. And then this usually results in feeling defeated, discouraged, shame, guilt, anger, frustration, right? So prior to this work, perfectionism was my silent enemy. I thought she was a friend, but truly, it just made me feel more stuck than ever. I had this expectation of myself as a wife, as a mom, a teacher, an entrepreneur, an individual, and all the tasks and responsibilities that went with each. And I wanted to excel at each one of them. I wanted to take on all the projects. I wanted to do them all more than well. I set my expectations high. I demanded of myself to teach with my whole heart, my 100%. I demanded of myself to stay on top of the planning and the grading, which needed to happen after work hours. I demanded myself to do all the things I needed and wanted to do for my business. I demanded of myself to be present for my girls and my husband. I demanded of myself to have a consistently spotless, organized home, and I was supposed to be taking care of myself, right? So these were all my exceedingly high expectations. I wanted to do all of these things, and I was demanding myself to do it. And somehow I convinced myself that I was going to do it. and I was going to do it to my standards. And anything less than that was graded as a failure on my part. So all of these tasks, all of these labels, all of these jobs taking up some of my time and my energy. And I wanted to do it all. I did not want to sacrifice. I did not want to put anything aside. Everything was going to get done. And not just half-assed. It was going to get done like a freaking pro. But one day I broke down each one of these labels that I placed on myself, each task that I expected myself to do, and I broke down the hours it would take to do each. So for example, my job, I was at my job for 8 hours. All right, so I jotted down 8 hours. Laundry was 2 hours, because I mean, it's only like 10 minutes here and there, right? But it amounted to 2 hours. Homework with the girls took 30 minutes. Supper and cleanup took an hour. Turns out I was trying to do tasks and be 5 people at the same time. That was the equivalent to 72 hours of tasks in a 24-hour period. So my bottom line was that I was trying to fit 72 hours worth of stuff into 24 hours. And that didn't include eating, peeing, showering, sleeping. For some reason, I had left those off the list. I wasn't expected to do those things. This was a huge eye-opener for me. Here I was trying to place 72 hours of tasks in a 24-hour period and do it all perfectly. And I was labeling myself as a failure every single day because I couldn't do it all. So this labeling myself as a failure every day, that was taking a toll, right? And because I was repeating it to myself every single day, I sucked. I was a failure. I was a crap mom. I was a shitty wife. Those became my reality because that's what I was repeating. And this is where that self-sabotage, that's where perfectionism becomes the form of self-sabotage. We are setting the bar so crazy high that we're never going to get there. And again, this is completely different than just setting the bar high to reach newer heights, to reach a different goal, right? And I think you know what I mean by that. Because there's a complete difference between, hey, I've never done this before. I'm going to work to get there. I'm going to grow to get there. And then there's, hey, I'm going to walk to the moon kind of heights, right? So another way to look at your habits and know if it's helping you move forward or if it's in the realm of self-sabotage is to ask yourself a few more good questions. So healthy striving is self-focused. We ask ourselves, how can I improve? It's taking our mistakes and our newfound knowledge and learning from it. Perfectionism is other-focused. We ask ourselves, what will they think? It's worrying constantly about what others may think of us. This is the comparison game. We're constantly looking to others to determine our own self-worth. We see someone else doing something a certain way and we disregard all the time that they have spent doing that thing, and we place their success as our own criteria. It's like someone like myself who plays no sport and never has, see a world-class Olympian swim and decide that I will also swim at their speed with their level of skill, talent, and drive, and I'm going to do it now. I love being in a pool, but I am far from being an Olympian swimmer at the moment. That's my reality at the moment. But if I see this swimmer and I'm like, oh my gosh, they are freaking awesome. Now, I can set the unrealistic expectation on myself that I'm going to be like them right now, which automatically sets myself up for failure. Because when I jump in that pool, I am most likely going to bob around a little, swim a few minutes, if that, and take a break. And that's where I'm going to be at, right? This will then prompt a good old F as my grade because I couldn't swim like that Olympian that I just watched on TV. This is perfectionism controlling my results. I see this person, I'm disregarding the years and years of training that they have done. And I am deciding that I am going to be like them today at their level right now. Myself, like I said, I love being in the pool. I love water and I love to swim. But there's no way that my current capabilities and skills are going to match that Olympian because I haven't done the work. It's an unrealistic expectation of myself. And it's automatically setting myself up for failure and those self-sabotaging messages that I will start repeating to myself. But then I could also watch that same Olympian and be in awe of them and think that I want to be like them and decide that I want to aim to swim at the quality of skill, talent, and drive. I will then start by committing to walking every day and swimming a few laps. I decide that time doesn't matter at this point because I'm building up my endurance. I'm training my body. Then after a few weeks, when I notice that I can swim a few laps with more ease than before, maybe I add a few laps to my routine or I work on a new technique. When that starts to feel easy, I up the routine again. This process keeps moving forward. I'm still thinking of the Olympian because it gives me something to aim for. However, I am also focusing on improvement. Right? So there's a difference there. I'm using this bar as where I want to go, and I'm going to take the steps to get there. I'm building up my endurance. I am going to add things to my routine. Every day I'm going to work at getting better. So I'm using this to bring myself up. Whereas in the other way, it's like, I need to get here, I need to get there now, without all the stuff that comes up before getting there. And then because I can't get there right now, well, I suck. Right? So it's improvement versus that unrealistic expectation of ourselves. That's what perfectionism is. So we can strive for excellence because as humans, we are meant to grow, but we can't be everything to everyone and be everywhere at the same time. Those are the unrealistic expectations that define perfectionism. So we need to ask ourselves if our habits are moving us forward and encouraging growth, or if it's holding us back and getting in our own way. Right? Those are the questions that you need to be asking yourself right now. Right now, this moment, are your habits helping you move forward, or are they holding you back? Are you setting the unrealistic expectations of yourself and then not moving forward at all? Or are those expectations and those standards helping you grow? Right? Back to that swimmer. I'm going to try and swim like them today. I won't do it. So then I just quit. I can't be like them right now, so I'm not going to do it at all. That's holding me back. But if I'm going to go at it with the idea of improvement, then it's helping me move forward. So I strongly encourage you to take the time to do this homework. Be honest with yourself. I don't want to simply share this knowledge with you. I want to spark something deep inside of you, whether it be relief, discomfort, anger, frustration. I want you to use these feelings to guide your journaling. Write it all down. Okay? Then comes the important part. Make the decision that you want something different. So we could do all the work. You can listen to all the webinars. You can journal. You can, come up with all the ideas. But unless you make that decision that you want something different, you're not going to move forward, right? So next week, we continue breaking down perfectionism because this is a huge topic and I could chat about it forever, okay? But I wanted to break it down because I want you to truly reflect on what you've learned so far so that we can move forward, okay? So next week, we are going to chat about how to recognize the habits and the patterns, and then we will flip it into action and progress. All right. So next week, it will be a recording that will be available to you, and we're going to break down more details about perfectionism. So if you're not yet working with one of the amazing Pursuit Institute coaches, scan this QR code, book your free connection call with me. Let's connect and chat about how we can get you moving towards the top of your mountain. Thanks, guys.